the idea of going down a track, crashing at like 75, 80, sometimes 90 plus miles an hour, getting out of the bottom and be like, right, I've got to go do that again. Is that really like, I don't care, right, this is what sport's about.
Welcome back to the Human or Athlete podcast with this week's guest, Nick Gleeson, serving as a paratrooper in the British Army and now a double winter Olympian for Team GB Bobsleigh. We talk about his life in the army, what he learnt from it, how it could transition into his life as an elite athlete, and how important it is to switch off, find order in the chaos of the professional sporting world, step away from it, find awareness, and come back to who he is, his foundations of being a human, and how to appreciate the little things. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Nick Gleeson, thanks for coming on.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Kind of just throw it off question. What is the most important value, mental skill to have as an athlete? Straight, first thing off the top of your mind.
Robustness, I think.
Robustness.
I think if you take everything the athlete's got to think about, competitive training, home aspects, friends, relationships, all this other sort of stuff, you've got to be able to sometimes bottle it up, sometimes deal with it in certain situations. You then got to deal with the stresses of each situation, and to do that constantly, things are going to get you down, and I think that having that robustness to be like, do you know what, this isn't the end of the world, this is going to happen, there's always going to be good in something. To have that mental robustness to, you're going to be constantly doing something and hopefully achieving something. I know obviously you're not going to win every race or every competition, but to have that robustness just to keep pushing forward, I definitely think it's going to put you in a good foothold moving forward. I
love it. I think that's a new one on here, so that's
great. Oh, is it?
That word. Let's kind of find out more for those who don't know your kind of story. I think, most keenly interested is how you became a paratrooper.
So how do I become a paratrooper? So I always had a fascination with the military during school, just because of what they'd done, what they got up to, just how cool it looked when they had the older version of the British Army advertisements on the telly. And my granddad was a former soldier in the army. He was in the REME, so he always to tell me all the good and bad stuff that he used to get up to, all the trouble he used to get into, and me as a kid was like, I want to go do that. And then me and my childhood schoolmate decided to go and join, and we decided that we're going to go and join the paras. And a family friend as well was also within 4 para at the time, so we were like talking to him, and he was like, just go do it. So we were like, right, we'll do it. Just kind of chinned off school, not completely, obviously staying school kids. And we went, put our forms in, done all the selection process. Something went wrong on his. I think they wrote his PFA time down, his run time down, a minute wrong. No. So he didn't get selected for that one. So he technically failed. No, on paper failed that, even though he didn't. So that then put him on the back foot. I managed to come in on time and got it written down on the right time. So I then got put forward, and then I started my training in September 2013, which by that time he then decided, he was like, the army mucking me around, so I'm then going to go and join the Marines. So he's now a Marine, so he's obviously not as good as me, being a paratrooper, and I'm sure he regrets that every day of his life. And I let him know every time I see him that I'm better than him.
No. How old were you at the time?
When was that? So I went straight into the military at 16. Okay. So I finished secondary school the summer of 16, and then just went, no, it wasn't 2016. It was 2013. Sorry, It was 2013. So 2013, went straight in September 2013. Because I was a junior and I couldn't go in as an adult yet, I'd go to Harrogate for a year. Basically gives you a bit more qualifications, a bit more of it's just something to do rather than the lapse of leaving school to joining the military at like 17, 18 years old. Done that, and then went up to Catterick in the Para Depot, done that, done P Company, passed that, then passed out, joined the 3rd Battalion of the Paratrooper Regiment, where I'm home to now. And that's just where the whirlwind began, basically. So
why yeah, like I think obviously that takes a long time. It's a long process. I guess a lot of work, a lot of everything physically, mentally. What kept you going through all that? Like, what was that why behind? Is it still that childhood dream of like, this is what I want to do? Like,
I think the whole time you say if you get, say if it's, let's just say it's a 30-week course. If you get like 10 weeks into it, you're like, it's only 20 weeks away. And it may sound long, but it depends how you think of it and stuff. You're like, normally the first 6 weeks of any sort of military training is the hardest, because that's where they're trying to figure out who you are, what you can do, what you're capable of. Are you really going to fit this job role, or have you like gone above and beyond what you're probably capable of? And 9 times out of 10, you prove the director and staff wrong, and you go forward and you achieve everything you want to, because that personal willpower, I think, is a pretty strong thing. So I just think the whole time, for myself, I think building towards a goal is a lot more easier than to just just pot around and do, I'll go do this here, I'll do that. I need something to work towards, which then makes achieving something better, rather than just I'm just going to do it and go through the motions. So I think that was it. I think it was like knowing that it was like for us, there was a maroon beret with a Paratrooper Regiment cap badge at the end of it. You get that title, no one can ever take that away from you, and then you can go and do that job that you've been training so long, so hard, all the the nights on exercise when you've been cold and wet and all this horrible stuff that you've had to do. It all makes it worth it. And I think if you talk to anyone within the Paratrooper Regiment that's gone through depot, no matter what year they've done it, obviously everyone's year was harder than the new one. Everyone's done the same thing. It's all the whole thing is hard. It's hard for a reason, and I think that the end goal is always the reason why I personally carried on. Yeah. Obviously, for some people, it may have been family, friends, and other reasons, but for me, that was definitely definitely a goal to achieve. I think the first time I experienced like the hole during exercise was, we do a thing called the landed nod, which essentially it's like an uphill and a downhill section, almost like an oval. And I think the incline is fairly steep. I think it's about that. And they basically make you run up and down it just over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it's essentially hill reps. It's repetitions, stuff like that. And the first time we done that session was the first time I felt muscle burn. Okay. I've been to the gym before, but you can only push yourself as hard at the gym as you want to. Yeah. And I remember running up this thing, like blowing out of my arse, and I got to the top, and my right glute started to really burn, and I thought I was injured, and I started panicking. I was like, I was like, whoa, that's really painful. Never felt it before in my life. And then I got to the top, and I took like 2 walking paces, which then I immediately got gripped and basically almost like thrown down the top of this hill. They're like, get down there, you got 3 more to go, and then that was it. You haven't got a choice. Yeah. So as much as you're wanting to quit, stop and pull out of the exercise, you can't. Yeah. And I also think it was a bit of self-pride. You don't want to be seen as the failure. You don't want to disappoint people. And I look around, I'm like, well, all these lads are doing it. I'm sure some of these lads are in. Exactly. The rule in the army, there's always someone worse than you. So there were people throwing up, and I was like, what would I rather be doing right now? Being sick or have a bit of a burn in my glute? I was like, okay, I'll shut up and keep going. Exactly. And that's what happens, And I think the more you go into that hole, the more you can deal with it better. You're like, it's coming. You're like, right, okay, this is painful. It's only 10 more minutes. Yeah. This is what
breaking it down from
break it down. When you're in the treadmill at the gym, like, right, I've got an hour. That's 15 minutes, 3-4 times. Sorry, that's what's that? 5 minutes, 3 times. You're breaking that down, little hurdles, and then before you know it, you've done an hour. Yeah. So yeah, that's my way of dealing with it. Just break it down and look around. There's other people doing the same as me, and possibly in a worse condition. So maybe I should just shut up and get on with it.
Exactly. It's almost like bringing in anything you can use.
You got to distract yourself from it.
Whether it can be other people, and just trying to find anything to just keep focusing on that next little thing. Yeah, and get through it. It's drawing on everything you can possibly internally, externally.
You've got to distract yourself from it, because if you just focus on that pain, and that like horrible, lactic build up and stuff like that, it's going to be, that's all you can think about then, and all your body then wants to do is stop moving that area, and then you'll just slow down. But just distract yourself.
Is it like, do you talk to yourself? Is it like positive, negative self-talk, or like?
Yeah, for me it's visual. Like, he's doing it, I'm doing it.
Okay.
He's in a worse position than me, so I'm going to keep going. You know, and also it sounds bad, but if you see someone being sick and worse than you, you're something like that. Maybe I don't have it so bad, and then it kind of goes, and then you go back up and it comes back again, and it's a repetitive process. But no,
you're like using your ego in a way to help you. Like obviously you need it. You need it to do everything that you do in this world.
I mean, you'd be lying if you're telling me that you didn't do like a circuit in a group and you looked at someone and be like, "Whoa, I'm glad I'm not here." It is true. It happens.
Using it in
no one admits to it. But because
it's got bad connotations.
Exactly.
To get through this stuff, you need it. It's you need everything you can get to get through these moments.
Exactly.
What would you say, being now a professional athlete, of like the advantages and the benefits of coming from the army and being given that opportunity coming into professional sport?
Am I allowed to swear on this? Yeah. All right. You've got a proper I don't give a fuck attitude. And this is why I think a lot of military athletes excel in this sport, because it's physically it's minging on the body, bad backs, bad knees, lifting a 4-man that's 210 kilos every day in and out the back of a lorry, and then moving it around the track, and then you've got to go and train, and then you've got to sit in a car for 8 hours and drive to the next track. It's disgusting. Personally, I don't know why I do it. And you talk to any other bobsleigh, really. If you look at it from the outsider looking in, you're like, no thanks, absolutely not. But for some reason we love it. For some reason we're good at it. So we do it, and that's where the passion comes from. But the idea of going down a track, crashing at like 75, 80, sometimes 90 plus miles an hour, getting out of the bottom and be like, right, I've got to go do that again. Is that really like, I don't care, right? This is what sport's about. Cyclists have crashes, footballers have injuries, boxers, concussions, get knocked out, all these like little things is part, you take it with the sport.
Exactly.
No sport is 100% safe. I mean, safe except for curling. Oh, goodness. Looking at the curlers and they're watching this. Sorry, guys. But yeah, that's just it is that I don't care. I think if you get, I'm not saying civilians are completely different to soldiers, but it's much more drilled into us that you have to be harder than the average person. So again, that mental robustness, the physical robustness of going down, crashing, let's just say, and then coming back up and going again, and then having the morale and the confidence between you and your pilot to be like, look, it happens, this is sport, let's go again. If it happens again, well, then I'll start having a go at you. Learn from your mistakes. But
100%. I think there was something I was listening to the other day, and it was saying about this woman who's kind of like a psychologist, and was really kind of interesting story and what she studies and stuff like that. And she was talking about the US Army. Okay. And she was saying about how the Army gets like this knock for creating these, hugely alpha, overly aggressive men. Obviously, it's just a stereotype. And yet we're missing how brilliant it can be for these men who are lost, men who don't know what they're doing. They take this opportunity and the way that they guide them and shape them into these men who are robust mentally and physically. And then obviously you look at your path and you've gone on to do something professional sport, which obviously wouldn't be, like you said, never what you expected. And I think that there's something brilliant to the, we'll talk about it in a second, but the camaraderie and all this sort of stuff. And the attributes it gives you as a person to deal with anything that life throws at you. And that actually, if we look at it in a different way, what can we learn from these incredible environments that the Army's creating? Especially in the sport world. Like for me, I'll be like, why can't football clubs and teams look at the camaraderie created in the Army and take something from it? Because look at all the the egos in football, and you hear the stories about these people, whatever, and it's like you look at the Army and it's one unit. It's like I don't know, but there's something so special and sacred in that. And we're so far apart from that. And it's like, how much better do you think you could get? Having that.
I completely agree. But for professional sport, I think it all aspects it covers. You know, if there is loads of madness, you know how to stay calm within it. But if there's madness in the sport, and you need that, you know, that anger and that aggression, you can just suddenly pull them both in, and then you've got both aspects of what you need to be a good athlete.
And again, it's being able to control that. It's a big, okay, I'm going to find some order within this chaos, but also I'm going to use chaos in a moment where I need it.
And exactly.
Like, I think that those skills are so underrated.
Like for Brad, you know, pushes it, snorting and stuff on the hands, and then he gets in, he's like, I've got to drive this down now. So there is a nice balance, and it's knowing how to switch it on and switch it off. And I think that's what makes a good bobsleigh athlete, because you don't have to be big, horrible, aggressive all the time. You know, you switch it on for 10, 15 seconds and then switch it off. You know, it's a lot easier to handle that way.
Yeah. Why, obviously, that there is that thing with athletes who become serious, you get attached to, this is who I am, this is how I'm going to do it, or whatever. And why is it so, obviously you just said why it's so important to have fun, but why is that culture like that? And I'd say maybe what makes it so important to get away from that? Is it like a kind of a way of detaching from the stress of the outcome? Like, is it a way of enjoying the journey more?
I think previously within our sport, when we were funded, people were so serious because their results would mean a wage to do the sport. So they were like, if you know, work super, super hard all the time, all to think about is bobsleigh, and then I'll get paid to do the sport, which is money on top of anything you get given already from other jobs or whatever. And I think the pro that we had this season was the fact that we weren't funded, and so we were all like that. Well, none of us are getting paid. None of us are getting paid to be here. We're not getting anything more than anyone else. So there's no reason to be serious. You know, we've technically got nothing to prove, and we've got nothing to lose because we haven't got any money. And the aim was to qualify for the Olympics. We never thought we'd pick up as many medals along the way as we did, and we done that. So for an unfunded team, we're sat here, we were like, you know, what's going on here? And then obviously went to the Olympics, you know, and then come sixth from the four-man. It's and the whole time we've had no, obviously race day very serious, and like I said, around bobsleigh environment very serious. But apart from that, we're like that. We're just a bunch of guys just training, trying to make ourselves better, and just having a good time. And that has breeded, you know, the best success we've had ever in the modern era of bobsleigh.
That's so cool, because it's like everyone defines money as it's a solution to improvement, especially in sport. You look at football, it's just throw money at it, or buy new players, or give them more money, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, even when I was talking to some of the hockey players, they're like, we've got less money, so we focus on different things. And those different things actually create, maybe, you know, you can't obviously it's difficult to compare, but they start focusing on the social environment, or the emotional environment, or the psychological, because it's stuff that doesn't require as much money. And the benefits from they're getting that aren't as much, like, let's say, tangible money-based stuff, can be just as important, if not more.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's not seen as like, as big of an investment. And so it's stuff like that is proving that this idea of that money has to create a great team. Yes, it helps. Yes, you want the best sled possible.
Absolutely it helps.
But it's not everything. And I think find the silver lining, or find the gaps where money is almost overlooking them, like the teamwork, like the being less attached to the wage or the result, actually leads you to better performances.
Like I said, we had nothing to prove. You know, we could have potentially gone to that Olympics and done the same, if not worse, than what we done last time. But it's the fact we're showing that even without funding, it's possible for independent guys to go out there, find sponsorships, and to still achieve your dreams of becoming an Olympian. Obviously, to do that and win a medal is a whole different ball game compared to what we're up against. But yeah, I think that kind of resonates massively with what our crew did. No money, minimal support really, and we just kind of, you know, we just had a good time. And if the athletes are in a good headspace and they're enjoying it, you're going to get 100% out of them every single time you need to, and that's essentially what happened.
I think that's incredibly inspiring for those who are in, let's say, underfunded sports and different, like smaller sports, or to those even individually who don't have as much money as other people and are trying to get to these dreams and achieve these dreams. But I think it's showing that money isn't the answer to everything, and if you again want to achieve your Olympic dream,
oh no, I completely, don't get me wrong, we've had a fantastic sponsor for the last 3 years. Cool. He's helped us out absolutely massively, but there's money out there. There's companies that are willing to help, sports people, sports teams, sports persons, and stuff like that. So don't just think because your sport isn't government backed, you're like, well, that's it, my dream's over. But every time in the previous years and stuff where I've had a bit of time off, I've always gone back into the gym feeling better. Like, wow, I can suddenly lift that a lot quicker and it feels easier. And that's where you really start to understand how you work as a human. Some people need to go out of the house every day. Some people, I'd spend a whole day inside. I count that as a rest day. Some people would have a rest day but still go to the gym and do some light stretch and stuff. I was like, I'm on a rest day. To me is nothing. I base my week around Saturday and Sunday completely off. It's a weekend. I want to enjoy myself. I use professional sport as a full-time job essentially. So Monday to Friday, occasionally the odd early morning Saturday session if I really want to get up early on a Saturday, which I don't. So it's knowing what makes you tick. That's the biggest thing. If you need to go and do something, then do it, but don't make it a habit that's then gonna stop you from doing other things. Thinking that I've been a slob today. I've sat on the sofa and just binge watched Netflix all day and think, that's going to be a detriment. It probably isn't. That's what your body needs. And I think a lot of professional athletes forget that for us, say we start training April, May, we're then not stopping until end of Feb. You're getting a month off a year. And you want to train through that month. Like, allow your body to relax, put a bit of weight on. You should have seen my diet this last week. My God, I've had about 8 or 9 takeaways and then all this alcohol and stuff. But this is what, treat yourself. You can't go into this hole of sport and just be like, sport, because it'll take over your life and it'll ruin it. It'll ruin relationships. I've had it myself. I've ruined relationships through sport. You don't have to see your family enough and all that sort of stuff. And it's times like this, once the season's done, it's like that's the time to go and do it again before the training does slowly ramp up. But rest is best.
I think it's a healthy balance, and I don't think it's not seen I was resting or taking a day off or whatever. It's not seen as healthy, and it's like,
I'd say rest is still training.
Exactly.
You're letting your body repair to get you to the next level.
And like we said earlier, your nervous system is learning whilst you're resting, and if you're constantly doing more, it's not being given the time to catch up,
to adapt. I completely agree. And the amount of times I fight with athletes about just sit down, just don't do anything, go to bed, put a blanket over, put Netflix on, and just stay there. The next day, you may feel a bit groggy and stuff, but just, oh God, it aggravates me.
But it's important to challenge that that stereotype, that idea of that culture that has come about in the last 10 years from a couple different freak athletes. But it's also, they're saying the stuff, they're talking about it, and yes, obviously, I'm not going to call Kobe out on not working to the level as he does, but this is not necessarily how there's a few people doing that, and we shouldn't necessarily just copy a few people when that might have worked to them, but every single one's different. And like you said, you've got to figure out how you work as an athlete, but also, most importantly, how do I work as a human? How do I work away from my full-time job? How do I work? How does my mind work when I'm not on the track, or even knowing all the different situations and how you respond and how you respond best. To those situations. I
completely agree, and it's having a fine level of balance. I think the years after the Olympics are a lot easier to deal with because they're not important, because obviously there's still a World Championships, there's still a chance to compete for funding and win medals and stuff, and gain more sponsors and stuff. But the 2 years leading into the Olympics, so 2025 and 2026, they're the ones where people are going to have to understand where you are going to have to start making sacrifices. You are going to have to, ramp up the training a little bit more. But then on the other hand, you can argue if you're more experienced, you don't need as much technical training because you've got the skill set there. All you need to do is work on actual performance.
Yeah.
You need to work on the power output, the speed, the strength. So there's all these little things that you need to kind of gauge on what works best for you and how have you worked that over previous Olympic cycles and stuff like that. And when you can switch off, when you need to switch on, how long do you need to switch on for, all these little things. And again, it just goes down to knowing how you work best. And I think if you're a new athlete getting into a sport where you're like, oh, I'm not really sure what to do, just watch. It sounds weird, but I was a watcher when I first started, but I'd watch people in the gym be like, all right, you're doing that. And then late in the evening, they'd be like, you're going out and doing this. Why are you not doing this? And he's doing that. And you kind of piece together like, what makes people tick, what makes them good, what makes them bad, things like that, and you kind of merge yourself into a weird little hybrid. I'm not going to say who I watch within bobsleigh because that would be a bit weird, but but no, I was watching people how they train. What are you doing? Does that training make you good?
Learning.
Yeah, and I had my own program from the S&C coach that we had, and that was fantastic. But it was the things outside, like how do you react to things? How do you react to that? What do you do in this situation? Yeah, what kind of person are you? All this sort of thing. You then look, you're like, well, hang on, you're really successful. You're not as successful. What makes you better than him? So then you kind of, you go over there and watch him a bit more and talk to him, and just find out. And these are things that you can take. Things that work for them, you can take them and be like, well, that doesn't exactly work for me, but I can change 1 or 2% of it, and then that will work for me.
Yeah.
Like me sitting indoors for a whole day. People could be like, right, I'm going to go for a walk 9 till 10 a.m. and then I'll sit in the house all day. So it's only a slight change, but it's still the same sort of thing. And this is where it then gets passed down through athletes into different generations. And it's why annoyingly the bloke who's behind you, the new guy, is always going to be better because he's learnt from the mistakes that you've made, how you've made them better, what makes you good, and then he's taken that and he'll make them even better. And then it's just like a little conveyor belt.
And as long as you're open to changing your approach, not getting stuck in it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The stubbornness is the worst thing in sport. It's always evolving. There's always new technology. There's new freaky athletes coming in. When I first came in, I thought I was a bit of a freak at 19 years old. Then you see some of these like 19-year-olds now. I'm like, what have you been eating? And I'm like, but that's the same way that people used to look at me. So it's just the natural athletic cycle, really. You're new, you're young, you're a bit freaky, you get really experienced, get good, and then the new guy comes in, you feel bad, and then you retire, and then you potentially become his coach. And it's that little whirlwind that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you end up hopefully with a world-class team all the way down to grassroots, knowing that each one of them at their level is the best. And this is what we're trying to achieve now on the back of Beijing, because we've got enough time.
Yeah, I think that's really exciting. I love your approach. There's this awareness of the whirlwind that it is, and being able to, like you said, step back. Cool, it's a whirlwind. I'm on this journey. I'll let it play out. And then there's also this curiosity to you that's like, I'm not leaving any stone unturned while I'm on this journey.
Yeah,
I'm having the most fun I can have. I still want to, work how do I get the best out of myself and those things.
Yeah,
and it's this really cool kind of channeling everything into this whirlwind, but also being able to step back and go, cool, I'm learning, I'm doing my thing, but I can step out of it. I can have a day where I don't worry about it. I can have a day where I recharge and go back at it again and go face this whirlwind day on every single day.
Absolutely.
It's a brilliant approach, and I think there's going to be the young guys, hopefully, that are learning from you in that way. It's
the awareness of knowing that these young guys are looking at you thinking, oh, right, so that's what he's doing. Then I'm like, I'm not saying they're my training secrets, but what makes me tick and stuff. I'm like, oh, why are you, knowing that they're going to be taking that and trying to come after me. Then I'm like, right, I've got to go work even harder now. But then there's also a limit, I think, of knowing where your peak is. Be like knowing that, right, unfortunately, this could be my last year. I could have 2 more years and and then kind of not taking your foot off the pedal in terms of performance focus, but then maybe getting a bit more in tune with the guys that are chasing you and helping them out more. And I think, well, within any sport, there's always some level of selfishness because no one wants to be beaten. But it's going to happen. It's just life.
Yeah.
Usain Bolt's not going to be the fastest man forever. I'm sure someone, sometime, maybe not soon, will come along and beat it. And it's just helping there. And I think the more you help each other within a setup and within a team, the more you're setting yourselves up for success. Because myself, Nick Gleeson, can't take on the world. I need a big group of people with me to go and do that.
Yep.
So, you're just you're just shooting yourself in the foot, really.
100%. I think, again, setting that ego aside, not getting attached to it, and allowing other people to grow in that environment, and obviously even opening up to them teaching you stuff that you never knew.
Yeah.
I think it's a really commendable approach, and as a role model in that group, is now obviously one of the experienced guys in that at that point in the whirlwind. It's being able to see that environment like that and approach it like that. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, thank you very much for having me.
Honestly, it's been brilliant insight. We ask one final question every time, which is, what makes you more than Nick the bobsledder? What makes you human? What
makes me human? Oh my goodness, I don't really have a personality outside of bobsleigh. What makes me human? I don't know. I think it, like what we said before, is that ability just to switch off. And I'm like that, right, I'm home now. I'm here with my girlfriend. I can go down and see my family, see her family, see my friends, and I can just make that nice change because season's done, sport's done. This is me now. I get to relax. I don't have to worry about going out in the cold or anything like that. I can just, just have nice chats with her, chats with my friends. Organise some nights out, and I don't have to worry about performance, stuff like that. The ability, that is it. Two personalities essentially. I've got a sports person, and I've just got me. And at the moment, thankfully now, after 4 years, I'm back in me. and that's it. I think not getting too overwhelmed with any sort of job, sport, anything, any sort of career. You still need to live your life, be happy with your surroundings and everything like that. And it can get overwhelming, but you need to control that. And I think that is the human element coming through, knowing that, hang on, this is too much now. I need to take a step back, rest days, holidays, nights away, weekends away, all this sort of things, just to escape it all. So I think that is the human element to it.
I think that's the skill that you've got that is super inspiring and super that's how important that is, and realizing how important that is. And it's being able to do that and, again, know yourself.
Yeah.
And that you're someone that appreciates those moments with friends. Those are moments of the smaller things of, like you said, having a chat and just enjoy that time at home, where so many people are rushing to get away from it. Yeah. And you're being able to appreciate, slow down, get away from it and go, this is also what's my foundation. This is, regardless of what happens, I come back to this time and these things that I appreciate, no matter how small they may seem in this fast-paced culture and society we live in.
Yeah. Training will start again at some point throughout the year. And the whirlwind will start. It will become like a little tumbleweed, and it will just get bigger and bigger. So just enjoy the time off. Just be normal. Don't worry about that sort of stuff. Stay out of the gym as much as you can. We'll have to go burn off some calories soon, though. So,
absolutely love it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you very much.